All right, my topic today, how the feminine and the masculine play together, how they interact. So let me start off with a little bit of a personal story. Not this year, but the year before was a really trying time for me in terms of my intimate relationships. Actually, my whole life has been like that. Primary way that I have come to learn about myself and who I am is through the interplay, through the exchange, through intimate relationships with men. Okay. So it's been fun. In fact, confession time, I haven't had a relationship, like an intimate relationship last more than a few years in my lifetime. I haven't had one of those really long-term 10-year relationships. This just hasn't been my story. It hasn't been my karma, whatever you want to call it. Mine have tended to be intense, fairly short-lived, and explosive. And that was particularly true, not this year, but the last year before that. It's just like every relationship entanglement that I got into was exploding on me. Boom, pow, boom, pow. And I didn't know it at the time. I found out recently that at that point, Pluto was squaring my Venus. So you astrology buffs out there know that that means like, oh, it all comes to the surface. Pluto is that dark transformative planet, really digging in and bringing things up for review. And Venus, of course, is the planet of love and relationships and connection. And so that's where all of my relationships, but in particular, my romantic relationships were really just exploding on me. And it was hard and it hurts. And I couldn't figure it out. And I'm going, what is wrong with me? And so I remember I was driving and I was feeling frustrated by one, the latest sort of explosion that happened. And I went, it's last like a month, right? Now, next thing you know, it's exploding in my face. And I guess I threw this question up to the divine. I threw it up. I said, what do I do? What do I do now? And I heard the word so clearly just shoot through my head. And the word was shine. And I went, shine. And then the understanding of what just that word and what spirit was trying to relate to me came into my body. It filled my whole body up. And what that means is the feminine is meant to shine. The feminine energy is meant to lead. The feminine energy is meant to receive. And the masculine is meant to give, to follow, to support. And see, we have that bass backwards in our culture. Okay, we think the feminine is here to give, to serve, to nurture. Nurture, yes, but not to give and serve. And the masculine is here to receive. The masculine is here to, be the hard driving leader and receive the benefits from the feminine. But what happens is in our culture, because we're doing this backwards, because the feminine is always giving, giving, giving. I know I do, because that's what I've been programmed to believe is the right thing for me to do as the feminine, as the woman. Now, feminine and masculine don't always show up in feminine woman, masculine man bodies, but they usually do. And for simplicity's sake, I'm going to refer to it that way just during our conversation here. Okay. So where was I? So what happens is when we're in this reversal of the true roles of the feminine and the masculine, resentment builds up. Why is our divorce rate 60%? It's because we are off center, off kilter with our masculine and our feminine roles. So here's the job of the feminine. The job of the feminine is stand up and shine and be passionate and shine in her own light. Why does a man love the chase? Because he follows the light of the feminine. He follows the light that she is emitting. Without her shining, the masculine doesn't really know what to do. The masculine feels lost. Now, again, the masculine in our culture is also programmed to believe that they are the leaders, that the feminine is the servant, and the masculine is the master. And of course, we're not that archaic anymore in our culture in the Western world, but that element still exists, really does still exist. So how do we switch this? Oh, before I go into that, actually, I have a great story to tell you. So my friend Alan Schaub, who is an astrologer who I will go to see, and if you've been following me around, you've probably heard me talk about him because he's an ace astrologer, and I love the readings that he does because it's like, I mean, you can just see all of the information swirling around his head, and he's pulling from astrology and asteroids and mythology, and just giving this really cool complete picture. And one of the things that he says is the masculine leads the dance. Well, on the surface, that flies in the face of me saying the feminine is the leader. And then he told me this great story. He told me about, or it was an example. He said, my wife tells me she wants to go on a hike. Oh, Okay, so now that gives me the opportunity to go ask my friends, what are good hiking trails? Let's get the equipment, let's schedule it, let's make a date. And in that way, the masculine leads the dance. And yet, if you listen to that story, it also holds true that the feminine is the leader. But the feminine energy is not the leader in the strong arm, like make it happen kind of a way. It's a suggestion, it's an enticement, it's an alluring. It's her standing in her power and saying, I want to go on a hike. And having that kind of power move forward and the masculine be able to grasp it and then fill in the details around it. It's like if you read a really good novel, right? The novelist will be writing the story, and the novelist will give just enough detail, just enough description of a character for your mind to come in and fill in the blank and create this rich experience for you. Whereas if a novelist, a writer gives you too many details and fills it in for you, it's chunky. It's not as rich an experience for you as if you get to fill in a lot of the blanks yourself. So that's how the two play together, and that's how the two are meant to play together. And that's really that's a challenging place for both parties to sit right now, because we've got cultural conditioning and cultural programming working to convince us otherwise. And so we've got our own internal learning and understanding going, is that right? And are just our base reactions. And as the feminine energy, as a being who embodies the feminine energy, it's very easy for me to turn around and just start serving and just start giving everything that I've got and making allowances and making arrangements for the masculine in my life who I care about, be that an intimate relationship, be that my child, who's my son, who's the masculine energy. That's how that I tend to want that to play out, because I believe that that's what I'm supposed to do. And girls need to be good little girls, right? But as soon as you start to shift that energy, and it's not about standing up and going, I'm the boss around here. It's not about that at all. It's about an energy shift. When you start to take your focus away from the masculine energy, whether, and this can be global. This can be, our president, the masculine president, Trump, start take your focus, pull it back from the masculine and bring it into the feminine and start to step into your light, step into your passion, and you start to shine. Watch how the masculine energies around you start to whip into shape. And maybe that sounds really terrible, but they do. They suddenly turn and they show up to serve you. They show up to assist you. Serve is kind of a weird word, but show up to support. That's a better word. Show up to support the feminine energy. So it's up to the feminine to start to redirect that. It's not up to the masculine energy. It's up to the feminine. We need to bring our energy back into self. We need to bring our passion and rediscover our passion and step into that. And then our relationships will flourish, and really the world will flourish because we are flourishing, because the feminine energy is the leader in our version of reality. Okay?